right, well, then let's get started.
Awesome.
So, welcome to another episode of the Comeback Crew. Today, we're here with Chance Blair, who has an awesome story, but is also one of Constant Therapy's brand ambassadors. So, super excited to have you on and to learn more about you. So, I guess a good place to start is just tell us about you.
Well, it's good to see you, Zach. Thank you so much for having me. As far as my journey with constant therapy, believe it or not, it started in rehab. That was the first time I heard of constant therapy. My speech pathologist, let me kind of go back to the origin story. So I had three strokes. My first stroke was in April 9th of 2024. The next one was going to be in May. And then the third one was around the weekend of July, 4th of July. And then I was hospitalized at Good Shepherd Pin Partners here in Rittenhouse Square. And then when I was using talking to my doctors for my physical therapist, speech therapist, and occupational therapist, my speech therapist, pathologist, introduced me to a program called Constant Therapy on an iPad. It was a very revolutionary program. It had me do cognitive exercises, such as recalling voicemails, such as playing alien puzzles. So I was very intrigued and very impressed. And from being not able to clearly articulate my thoughts, and for me to not really be where I once was, which is fine, constant therapy really took me from zero to hero. It's kind of like my schoolhouse rock for people with brain injuries. It's something that I believe in. I stand by. The reason why we're even having this conversation, it wouldn't be for constant therapy. I wouldn't be able to continue a conversation or even hold my thoughts. So I'm very grateful, Zach, to be here. It's very awesome to kind of share this information with other individuals who might be in a hospital bed, who might be in a situation where they feel like you have to be a millionaire to afford to just live and get your dignity back through just being able to communicate after a brain injury, whether it might be a stroke like me, whether it might be seizures, whether it might be uh, other brain ailments that one might have, or invisible disabilities and such. But yes.
Sure. Well, let's go back to what you said about your three strokes because I feel like if you were just to interact with someone, out in the community, they'd probably never be able to tell that you'd had three, one stroke, let alone three. So tell us a little bit more about, your strokes and what happened there and what your hospital experience was like and, all of that good stuff.
Thank you. So that's a great question, Zach. So when it came to my first stroke, I was originally a manager of a Pilates studio. I'm not going to put the name out there because I don't want to get sued, but essentially I was a manager at a Pilates studio. Then one day I woke up, fell out of my bed, and I couldn't call 911 because I couldn't walk to my bed. So when I had the stroke, I didn't know it was a stroke. I just knew my body wasn't doing what my mind was telling it to do. So I had to go downstairs to the concierge, to the front desk, and no one was there. So I had to go back upstairs. Thank God there was an elevator. So as I'm walking down the hallway to go back to my apartment, I see the person who's giving out the tours, and then I have the person who does the leasing agent call 911 on my behalf because I can't even open the door to my apartment. So I'm just all over the place. And then while he's calling 911, I sit in my home, and then the paramedics come and they carry me out my apartment door through a stretcher. And as I leave my apartment complex, I am taken to Jefferson where they do a procedure on my brain. I had an ischemic stroke. I had three ischemic strokes. But it was a very traumatic, very crazy situation. I wasn't aware of what was going. I knew what was going on, but I knew something was not good. And I also knew that I was training the new girl the same day I had the stroke. So I was worried about work more than myself, which a lot of us do. We put a lot of other people first and we put our own health and ourself first. But I think putting myself first starts with especially constant therapy, doing these daily exercises, just doing something as simple as taking your meds, washing yourself. It becomes a part of your routine. When you have a brain injury, it's all about routines. So at the second stroke, it got bad. And then the third stroke, when I had it in July, that's when it was like the TKO. That's what really knocked me out.
Mhm.
So when you are in these situations and you're physically not able to do anything, there's only one option. Well, two options. You can either sit down and do nothing, or two, you can actually do something about it. So I can't control what happened to me. What I can control is what I do now that I'm laying in a hospital bed. So if I'm laying in a hospital bed with, all these pieces of technology that's around us, I decided to take out my phone, download the Constant Therapy app that my speech pathologist told me about. It was a free 7-day trial, and it was less than a cost of Netflix and HBO Max. So I called my wife and I told her immediately, I'm not waiting. I'm not watching 90 Day Fiance. I'm not watching these stupid shows. I mean, the only thing I really watched was Games of Thrones. But by the way, the young lady, the dragon lady, she also had a brain injury, and
Mhm.
she actually learned her language by doing simple exercises that parallel that of constant therapy.
Mhm.
But you can sit down, do nothing. You could be a victim or a victor. And I
Mhm.
chose by being a victor with constant therapy. And that's my story. I mean, it's just kind of traumatic experiences. Things will always happen, but it's all about what do we do in those moments when they do happen. You can't control when someone cuts you off on the road, but what you can control is how do you react?
Mhm.
What are you going to do? So am I going to spend money on watching 90 Day Fiance? Or I'm going to spend money on getting my cognitive skills back. I think it's a no-brainer. So
I'm right there with you. Well, there's a couple of things that you said, and I know we're kind of jumping ahead in time with this question, but what you said where you tend to think about others first and getting your life back on track and becoming that victor, you're in a really unique position now out in your community with your job. So would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
absolutely. So I'll have to say this. So as of now, I am a community health worker. I am an individual that goes out into the communities and canvases and interacts with other people who are like us and introduce them to things such as constant therapy or the International the BIAA, the Brain Injury Association of America. So this allows me to not just be an able-bodied person that says, "Oh, I know what it's like to be in your position," by being in the medical system, by being a patient, understanding the needs that people like us have as far as getting our dignity back. I felt like it is a pay it forward. It's what I owe the universe. If the universe has allowed me to talk, to eat, to function the way I am, it's up to me to kind of pay it forward to everyone else who's not able to do so. I see a lot of brothers and sisters out there who aren't able to really, consume their food, who aren't able really to communicate their thoughts, and aren't really to just just kind of go about their days. But I believe that by giving this second chance, it is the cost of entry. Because my old life was very all about me taking care of me, myself, and I. But being a CHW, it's about taking care of others. So because I've been able to help myself through apps like Constant Therapy, eating clean, exercising, doing like walks and stuff, nothing crazy. It's the it's the payment. It's a payment of paying it forward. So it's what I get for being where I am to help others. It's a very enriching job, and it feels like it's natural to help other people because we are human beings. We all need help. But to be able to have that insight of the healthcare system, especially the way it has always been and will always be, we can provide them with options that they have and give them, like I said, dignity. Just give them their peace of mind because you can't control what people go through. That's the universe. But what I can control are what can we do as a team? How can we get you back up to snuff? Because I'm not a doctor. I am a human being that's gone and experienced the healthcare system like a lot of people. I see a lot of my brothers and sisters out on TikTok and Instagram asking for money. I've seen a lot of veterans who have really been struggling and going through it. And it's kind of saddening and upsetting to see that this is kind of where we are. But, the only thing we can do is just kind of help each other. That's the only currency we can do to kind of get past this craziness of what we call our healthcare system. So being a healthcare worker is an honor and it's a privilege to be able to meet people where they are because I was where they were and I am walking the journey with them. The same way constant therapy walks that journey with you when even we were at ground zero, not able to talk and speak for yourself. So yeah,
I love that. I know I've talked to other people who've been on the comeback crew, and the trend of wanting to give back to people who are in similar situations. And that's something that, as a speech pathologist myself, I tell people that I work with where, I'm honest, I've never had a stroke or, anything like that. I don't know what that perspective is. And, there's that divide where that perspective is something that to date I don't have and I can't offer my patients, but that's something that you can. And I think that, you realizing that and capitalizing on that and putting yourself in a role where you are able to give back, that's awesome. It's something that I'm passionate about on behalf of you and the people like you. When I hear that, it's just that it makes my day to hear that. So that's awesome. How about, so we jumped ahead. Let's go back to kind of the middle ground there. How did you go from having three strokes to, getting to be a community health worker? What was that process like for you?
that's a great question. So before I had my three strokes, like I said before, I was a manager at a Pilates studio. Then when I had my strokes, I was unemployed. I had no job, period. So there was an opportunity that opened up in the city, and I decided to kind of pull the trigger and kind of take that role as a community resource connector. And what as a community resource connector, I help people find food, housing, employment, help them with their financial struggles, help them get their water get put back on, just help people, just give them resources. And as I was doing this regular day to day, helping people with resources, I had a few colleagues that were in this position called a community health worker position. I was very intrigued because I was thinking I could apply my experience with helping people live their lives, get benefits, and gain access to resources they may not know may exist, and then meshing that with my personal life experience, which is lived experience. So that's what, life is all about. You have a lot of people who grow up being musicians, actors and stuff. But there was a book that I read. Well, I listened to because I listen to books on tape called "Man's Search for Meaning," and one of the quotes in "Man's Search for Meaning" is basically when you find out your why, you can understand your how. So at this point, I understood. Um, I could ask the world, why me? Why am I in this situation? I feel like in a messed up way, these strokes were a gift because it allowed me to reach people that I would have never been able to reach before I had these, strokes. So how I realized when I was laying in a hospital bed, like nothing else matters. Pilates doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. I had a really introspective experience. I wanted to like get into cheese and stuff, uh, like your chakras. I
Hmm.
was getting into chakras because my recreational therapist, she got me into yoga and got me really thinking about my sacral chakra, and it's all about your mental resilience and stuff. But yeah, but this allowed me to kind of get back to the basics and realize, you know what? I'm in the hospital, don't have a job. I don't have to fight for anything. I'm just existing. What is my purpose? When I leave this earth, what's going to matter? Is it going to matter when I leave this earth that I taught or I ran a bunch of Pilates classes? No one cares about that. At the end of the day, on our, hate to be all grim, but on our tombstone, it's going to be the day we were born and the day we die. And like, what was the gentleman who wrote Tom Sawyer? He said there are 2 days that are important: the day we were born and the day we understand why. So when I had these medical emergencies, the strokes, I understood why I was born and why I'm here. I'm here because I'm here to help people who were in my situation, who haven't been in my situation, and understand that life still continues. regardless of what life may throw at you, because you don't know how strong you are until you have to be. And that's the beauty of being human, is that we all have it within us to kind of do the best work of our lives and be the best we can be. But sometimes it takes really crazy situations to unearth that side of us we never knew existed. So that's why being a community health worker is a very rewarding opportunity that I kind of stumbled upon, which I'm very grateful I'm doing because it's given me an opportunity to speak with my peers and give them seeds of information so they can feel empowered. Because there's nothing like feeling like no one hears you, no one listens, no one cares. Having someone who is with you, who have been where you've been, it's kind of like being doing maternity classes. Like I'm
Mhm.
not going to tell a woman how to be a mother, but then when you have people, women that have been mothers, there's this kind of sacral bond, unspoken bond that the women have. They understand what childcare and childbirth is like because it's one of those things. If you know, you know.
Mhm.
So just like being a stroke survivor, if I know, I know. So I feel like I have the ability to communicate and articulate with other people in my community who are just everyday people who are trying to do the best they can,
That's
like
awesome.
me.
Well, I'm going to ask potentially a challenging question here because I feel like you radiate love for the work that you're doing right now. And I mean, that makes sense. You get to meet so many people, you get to help people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different levels of education and awareness of what's going on with their medical situation. So, in thinking about what you do, is there one, if you had to pick one aspect of your job that just was the best part of it for you, what do you think that that would be?
I think for me, the best aspect of my job is helping some of the people in our elders in the senior community. Because many times, a lot of people, and as we get older, many times people neglect to call their grandparents and only call when maybe if they want money or something, but they feel there's a sense of people are forgotten, like they forgot about me. And no one wants to be forgotten as a human being. That's a natural thing. But to give people hope and say, "Oh, hey, it's Clifton. It's good to hear from you." To hear the happiness in their voice gives me peace. It gives me a sense of gratefulness that someone who woke up not expecting anything special, just saying a quick hello, that made their day. It felt like $1 million. Not giving resources, not giving them $1 million, just saying hello. Hey, Miss Shirley, just checking in, seeing how you're doing. Is everything all right? How's your situation taking care of itself? Did you need any assistance? Can I help you any further? Or did you want to work on this together? So my joy comes in working together with the resident, with the client. They're not by themselves. We work together as a team. So that's what it is. No one's alone. We're never alone. We're in this together. It's a village mindset.
It for sure is. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's think back to, when you were having your first stroke and were in the hospital bed for the first time and, maybe even when you were starting like the very first portion of that portion of rehab and recovery. What would you tell someone who's at that phase right now? Looking back on your own journey, what's your piece of advice to someone who's just now in the hospital bed?
Well, if you are just now getting in the hospital and starting to do rehab, it sucks. It's going to suck, but it will get better over time. Everything, like even small steps, turn into big leaps. So even if you walk 1 centimeter, that's a huge thing. Because before I had my stroke, I thought like a person that didn't have a stroke, oh, 2 inches, that's nothing. I need to be running miles. But no, that doesn't matter. Be patient with yourself and understand that things take time. And it doesn't mean that it won't ever happen. I tell myself, not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your therapist because they're going through this with you. You have a team of people who want the best for you. And even though you're being hard on yourself, understand that even though you may not be the person you used to be, you'll be a better and more resilient version of yourself. Because right now you feel stuck. There was a point where I felt like I was probably never going to walk ever again. I was crying in my bed. I was like, oh my gosh, like my legs aren't working. I can't move my feet. I can't do the gas pedal thing. I'm driving myself crazy. What am I going to do? And when it comes to a point where you're just like, you know what? If this is the way the universe, if this is what it's gonna be, this is what I'm gonna be. But just understand, sometimes you're very hard on yourself, but this is not the old you. This is the new you. You're learning your new body, and it's going to be hard, very hard. You get back what you put in. So if you put in half the energy, you're gonna get a quarter of the results back. So just understand that you have to put in that work. When I was in that hospital bed, just like you, I was on TikTok doing exercises until 12 p.m. at night. From like 7 p.m. Well, my lunch came for the hospital was like Jello and something. So lunch came at like 7:30. Got done with. So from like 9 to 1, I was doing leg exercises in my bed. So you sometimes have to kind of take your time, be consistent, and understand it will happen and that you're not alone. There are other people who have been in your situation. You're not going to be the last person. And the way that technology is advancing is very impressive. There's a lot of things that you have at your fingertips. Like before even technology like social media existed, there were a lot of people who were able to find their way to speaking and walking and talking without social media, and they made it work. So you're going to do this. You can do this. It's a matter of when. So just understand, be patient. That's all I gotta say. Patience is key, super key.
And you brought up TikTok and social media just now, and I know you mentioned it earlier. What role did that have outside of leg exercises? What role did social media have when you were going through the recovery process, and what role does it have now? Because you're on TikTok yourself, and you're making a lot of great videos, and I know you have a great community that follows you.
So when I was on TikTok, when you're in a hospital bed, stuff, it's a very isolating thing. You kind of feel like you are not in jail, but you're in a mental jail cell because your your mind is stuck and you don't have any. It's very isolating. You don't go out to the movies. You don't interact with people. You interact with nurses and the person that gives you the IV or the person that might give you some crackers. But it's very isolating. It can sometimes drive you crazy. But social media has been a way for me to find community and to find people and to find individuals who are similar to me, but outside of the hospital walls. It's very freeing and it's a very great feeling. It's a great, amazing tool, but nothing beats just kind of having a small conversation with your nurse and just asking questions. Hey, you come here often, or how long you've been doing this, learning about their stories, because everyone's kind of going through it, everyone on your team. But social media is crucial. I make videos that I wish that I had access to, because man, mind you, TikTok is full of like crazy stuff, but there's nothing wrong with dance videos, but I don't dance. I can't dance. I can't do any fancy videos. I just do real life talking videos, talking head videos.
Mhm.
But make the content that you want to see. But you'll never see me twerking at all on a video because that's not my shtick. My shtick is more so motivation, education, and awareness. But that's where book stops. But I make stuff be the change that you seek. So if you want to see content or want to see positive content out there in the ether, put it out there. And guess what? When you do that, you never know who might reach out to you. Number two, you may not know what kind of community you'll be building because it happens so organically. Because I went out there just making videos for me, and then it just so happened that I made videos for people who may not have a stroke, but also relate to the pains that we are going through. So whether I had a lot of people from the chronic illness community, I've had nurses reach out to me, I've had able-bodied individuals reach out to me. Pain is universal, hurt is universal, but love is also universal, and understanding is universal. So just understand that social media is a tool, and it is a very cool tool. but be very mindful and do not abuse the tool because you never know who's watching.
Very
So
true.
yeah,
And I love what you said there about, everything that's universal, because that is true. You don't have to have had a stroke to know that love and, the understanding and pain. So I think that's a great chance. Well, I guess we'll end here with, is there anything else that you would like to share?
yeah. I just wanted to let everyone know that this is not the end. This is not where your story ends, and understand that it's not your fault where you started, where you grew up, but it is your responsibility to where it ends up. So if you are mad at the world or mad at the situation, okay, be mad, but you have a choice to decide if you're going to make this a better day or if you're going to kind of consume and just kind of sponge or take in the negative stuff. But this is your life, this is your world, and make sure you give people the same grace, such as the family, loved ones, therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, your doctors, your team. Just be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and be kind to the world, and understand that it's up to you. You can have a good day or a terrible day, but it's always up to you. That's my message.
Awesome. Well, that was a great message, and we appreciate you being here to share it. And thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
your
much for having
time.
me, Zach. Appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for everything,
Sounds
Zach.
good. You too, Chance. All
All
right.
right, take care.
Bye.